Dear Canon, thank you for so many wonderful years. We've worked together on so many weddings, we've had so many good times, shot so many amazing images together. So, it saddens me to say I'll be leaving you. I just don't believe you want to give us photographers what we're looking for in today's market. It's not me this time, it really is you. I'm leaving you and I'm going to Sony. Sony just seems to be keeping up with what I'm looking for in the camera today. You should see what Sony can do with autofocus, how great its dynamic range and ISO are, and all of it in a slim, sexy body. So for now, good luck. Sounded just a little bit too cheesy? I'm kind of starting to think so. So how's your week been? Mine's been a pretty much up and down. It started with my suspension on my car going. I'll just driver's side, which is no biggie, it's just a spring. I smashed my phone. And I completed Assassin's Creed Origins finally. That's only taken like over a month to do. Yeah, I spent way too much time on the PlayStation. I also ordered the a7iii. So unless you've been living under a rock for like 4 years now, since Sony released, was it the A7, their first full frame mirrorless camera, the market has been shifting way in that direction of the mirrorless, and Sony, you got Olympus, Panasonic, loads of these other companies are really pushing for that mirrorless technology, and they are doing an incredible job, leaving Canon and Nikon kind of nowhere really. They're just doing their thing, and this is my problem. This is the reason for this video. This is basically, as you've seen in the title, I'm leaving Canon. Yeah, it's true. And what I want to do today is basically look at some reasons why, Sony, for me at least, is the right move. And there is some positives with Canon and Nikon. I'm not going to say there isn't. They're still incredible cameras. But for me, Sony's the way forward. So first thing I want to go through is a total disclaimer. I still only have the a7 II. I don't have the a7 III just yet. It's been pre-ordered. It should be here in, let me have a look at my calendar, in about 4 to 5 days time. I'm not one of those big channels that get them early, unfortunately. I would love to. Sony, if you ever watch this, more than happy to promote your gear. But this is not sponsored. Just saying that out loud. But yeah, so I've only got the a7 II. It's about the same kind of form factor, size and weight and everything else. There's maybe a couple of grams in it. Who cares? But one of the big things for me is the physical size of these cameras. Look, this is the Mark IV, and it's pretty much a beast of a camera. Then you look at this, and it's just tiny. It just fits my hand so nicely. I've got small baby hands. I don't really have man hands, you might say. But this feels so much comfier to hold than this. This is just, for me, feels like it's back in the cave age. It's an awesome camera, don't get me wrong. It takes incredible pictures, but it doesn't have the capabilities of even this camera with the autofocus options, the face detect and all of that. Yeah, you do have face detect on this, but it's only in live view. It's not when you look through the optical viewfinder. So it's kind of almost useless. It's great for video, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful for that, but it's not good for the optical. This, on the other hand, keep swapping cameras here, it's rubbish. Doesn't matter if I'm looking through the EVF or looking at the back of the screen, I get face detect, I get brilliant autofocus, even with adapted lenses for something like a Metabones adapter or the Sigma MC11 I think it is. You're still getting wicked autofocus. So, and the a7 III, from what I've seen as well, looks incredible. But yeah, the size and the weight of these is one of the big reasons for me. I will touch on the autofocus in a second, just bear with me. But when you're carrying, like say, 2 of these around, now by itself it's not overly heavy, but when you're carrying 2 of these around at a wedding all day long with, let's say, an 85mm and a 35mm or whatever lenses combinations you want, the weight really drags you down. It makes you really tired by the end of the day. I have shot a wedding with 2 of these, and you don't even notice the weight. You feel fine at the end of the day. It's a no-brainer really for me personally to make this shift, and I love these cameras, and I will actually be keeping one if not two of my Mark IVs. I'm selling a lot of the other camera gear I've got, so a couple of 5D3s, which are pretty much my backup cameras at the moment. They will be going, and I will be keeping these for a little bit longer with a couple of the lenses as well, but I will be shifting. But again, I'll be touching that. The next big thing for me is the cost of these cameras. Granted, I've already got a couple of the Mark IVs, they're in the bag, you know, they're fully paid for, I own them outright. But if you're starting right now and looking for a full frame camera and you're really not sure which way to go, this costs this much. Well, I know this is the Mark II, but a Mark III would cost this much. It's ridiculous. You're paying a significant amount more for this particular camera and you're not getting all the features of the a7 III. You know, with the autofocus, it's crazy. Now for me personally, the biggest thing that is the reason why I'm switching, and that's the autofocus. It's not that the Canon's autofocus, I'm going to just put these down a second. It's not that the autofocus on the 5D4, the 5D3, 6D2, or if you're Nikon, I don't really care about Nikon to be honest, but the autofocus on those cameras is still really good actually, but a lot of times we have the single point autofocus in the center, we focus and then recompose. With Sony's we don't have to do this. It's basically, we've got the joysticks now, which is a brilliant little feature, but the face detect, if you have it just on a wide kind of focus point area on the Sony's, and it will just lock onto the face instantly, and eye autofocus as well, even with native lenses now, like the Canon lenses or the Sigma lenses. I think Nikon lenses are starting to get there, but they're not quite as good, so sorry guys, you're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer. But the autofocus for me is a big reason. When I've used the Mark IVs at weddings, there's been times when the autofocus has missed and it looks like it's really in focus on the back of the camera. You know, it looks really good, but when I zoom in Lightroom, the autofocus isn't here on my eye, it'd be here on the ear, and it just throws it out a little bit. And me being a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to autofocus on cameras, I want to nail that focus. If I hand a bride and groom some images, I want to make sure they're perfect. And even though it's not often this happens, it's just one of those little things that I want to make sure is absolutely spot on. Also, with Canon, and this is true for Nikon as well, the focus points all clustered more towards the center of the frame. With the Sonys, even the Olympus and Panasonics, you know, their focus points are spread right across the frames. Now, I'm not going to say they're 100%, I think the a7 III is 93%, I believe, or thereabouts, which is a significant portion of the camera sensor that you're going to be able to get autofocus on. And also, if you put your focus point at the very edge of the frame, you're going to get perfect focus as well, because it's focusing straight off of the sensor and not going through a pentaprism system, which for me, it just works that much better. It's faster. I don't have to worry about whether the picture's in focus or not, because this does happen still on the Mark IVs, and it's so frustrating. I'll get home and the focusing will be just slightly out, as I mentioned, and it's annoying. It's really annoying, because that picture otherwise would be perfect for the bride and groom. You know, they make me look awesome, but that doesn't happen all the time. Another area Sony has been really good, and I keep saying really, I should stop that, but they've been great at, that's a better word, is the dynamic range. Now, I know Nikon have been, I think they're leading the market at the moment with the D850, but Sony is amazing also at the dynamic range. When I push those shadows in Lightroom, I'm getting so much more information, I'm getting cleaner files, which is exactly what I want. The Mark IVs is pretty good, but I can't push them as hard. I can probably push them a couple of stops maybe if I really mess up on the day, which can happen. You know, I'm only human. But the Sonys are just cleaner files, and this also is a little bit true with the ISO performance. Again, Nikon are a little bit better in this regard. You know, nobody's really arguing that, but the significance between the Sonys and the Nikons is pretty minimal. It's probably a quarter of a stop maybe, I'm not 100% sure, and obviously I haven't got the a7 III just yet, so I can't fully test the files, but it's going to be roughly about that. pretty sure. So lenses, this is one area that is awesome, absolutely awesome. So when I switch, or when I get my pre-order through for the a7 III, I've already got a Metabones adapter, I've already got some Sony glass, I'm filming on right now the a7S, and I've got the 28 f2 lens. Awesome combo, it's beautiful. I've already got a couple of other Sony glass lenses, Sony lenses. I've got the 55-1.8, I've got the 85-1.8. I'm good to go. I'm pretty much there. I've got everything I need to start shooting weddings just on Sony. But because I've got the Metabones adapter, I've got the Mark IV, I'm already going to have ability to grab my Canon glass, put it on the a7 III, get brilliant autofocus, everything's going to be perfect. I've already double checked, and you can get that face and eye autofocus through the Metabones. What's not to like? You know, and the ability as well on the Sonys to adapt any lens basically onto that system. Alright, you're not going to get autofocus with an old, let's say, vintage Russian lens. I've got one in my bag somewhere. It's pretty awesome. Let me get it. Yeah, that's it. I don't even know what this is. It's a Helios 44-2. It's a, was it a 58 f2 lens, and the reason I love this lens, the amount of sun flare you get is really pleasing for me. It's probably got some fungus in there and all bits of, I don't know, oil and stuff like that, but this is a pretty cool lens. I really like this, and having the ability to now put these on Sony cameras, I know we've always had that ability, but I can use this all the time now. It's brilliant. I love it. So as I said a little bit earlier, I will be keeping at least one Mark IV for the moment. Well, both of them for the moment, but I will be keeping one ultimately, because I still like Canon, and I haven't fallen totally out of love with Canon. Yeah, they still produce very good cameras, and this is where I'm going to go and say some of the positives for Canon, because there is still some legitimate reasons why you'd want to stick with Canon, or Nikon for that matter. You know, choose your flavour. But yeah, I will be keeping some of them, and one of the reasons is multiple exposures. See, for whatever reason, Sony has neglected to put on things like multiple exposure on the cameras, and this is something that, while not overly useful, and it's not something I use every single wedding, I might use it maybe 5 times in a season, so I'm pretty guilty of this, but it's there for when I want it. Canon's already had this like feature on cameras. It was on the, I think the 6D, the 5D2, you know, the Mark III, the Mark IV, etc, etc. And it's something that I will hopefully use a little bit more in the future. Maybe I'll do a video on it soon. I don't know, I'm not an expert on it by any means. But it's there if I need it, and that's a great option. Another option that Sony, for whatever reason, has left is things like time-lapse. That's not on the camera. Why is that not on the camera? I have to buy an intervalometer, attach it to the camera to be able to do time-lapse. Come on, Sony. This is just a simple firmware update. And it's annoying that you're paying crazy amounts of money for a camera that's not got these features. If you look at something like, I'm just pulling something out of the hat, the Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II. Now, that is a mouthful. But that camera, it costs what, 1,500 quid in the UK, brand new, body only, and it does everything that you could ever want on a camera. Time lapse, multiple exposure, bracketing, just everything. Why are we not getting these features on the Sonys? I'm really not sure, and it's one of the downsides I'm really kind of annoyed about with Sony. But I think the autofocus, the form factor of being smaller and lighter, is more than enough for me to jump ship at the moment. But there we go. Another awesome feature on the Canons, more than the Sonys, and Sony's not too far behind on this, is just how tough the Canon bodies are. I've had my Canons, or been shooting at Canon for, I guess, about 8 years now, and they've always been brilliant. The cameras have never once failed me. I've owned a bunch of Canons. I started on the, I think the 50D, I had a 40D, I can't even remember, to be honest. 5D Mark 1, 2, 3, and now 4, 60, 1D Mark 3. They've all been incredible cameras. Super tough, super tough. I've dropped them, probably kicked them, thrown them, all sorts. They've been rained on, and they always work. They are incredibly tough cameras. I'd like to say the Sonys are going to be as tough, but at this point in time, I just don't think they're going to be quite as tough. I don't really wrestle with them or anything like that. I'll throw them around on purpose, but being a wedding photographer, our gear gets battered all the time. We get thrown in the bags because we've got to move really quickly. We walk around in the reception halls, and you know, if you've got camera straps on, they're going to bump into chairs. You need pretty tough gear. I do think the Sonys are going to be pretty rugged, but I just don't think they're going to be quite as tough as Canons. But hey, that's my thoughts. Time will tell. Another kind of really cool thing for Canon at the moment is their touchscreen. This is something I've mentioned in the past, but touchscreens on a camera today is pretty much, it's an essential thing. It's something I think every camera in the world needs. We've had touchscreens on mobile phones for, I don't know, 10 years now. Why can't we have this technology on a camera system? You know, a lot of cameras do have this, but Sony is still neglecting. That's just not willing to fully go with the touchscreen. We've got touch to focus now. Brilliant. That's great. That's a yay, great. You know, it's good. I want full capabilities on my touchscreen. I want to be able to use the whole menu system. I want to, you know, pinch and zoom onto the pictures. I know you can double tap onto like an image on Sony's and you can move around. I want to be able to pinch and zoom, swipe through my images and everything else. I want this functionality. It's on every mobile phone ever released in the last 6 years, let's say. I really don't know. I'm just putting numbers out there, but it's a long time since there's been a phone without a touchscreen. I mean, come on, seriously. And you know, Canon's got this at the moment. The Mark IV is brilliant for this. The one, the X Mark II, the even smaller cameras, I think it's the D200. Every camera needs this. Sony, please, firmware update, get this put in there. We're good to go. I love that feature. So my thoughts for the future is this. I am still moving over to Sony. That's not in dispute. That's gonna happen. My new camera will be arriving in a few short days. I'll probably do an unboxing, just let you see exactly what it's like, my first impressions. I'll probably try and get a model together. I don't know, try and do something outside. Be awesome. But I will be moving to Sony. I will be investing a lot more in their glass, etc. Because I do think mirrorless is the way forward. I kind of think DSLRs as we know them today will be dead in 3 years, let's say, because mirrorless cameras are coming on so fast. Even Canon are slowly kind of dabbling into the mirrorless world with their M50, I think it is. They just released, I think it was like the day before the a7iii, and as soon as that was announced, everybody forgot about Canon. They've gone. Canon are kind of dabbling. I think Nikon is starting to look into it as well, but guys, this is too late. I will be keeping my Mark IVs, or at least one of them, because I want to see what Canon do for the future. I'm not totally turning my back on Canon. I believe that they will get there eventually, so I'm going to keep some of my glass, I'm going to keep my Mark IVs, I'm going to still use them. But I do believe DSLRs will be dead in 3 years, and the price and the value of them is going to plummet. Everybody who's going over to the Sonys, or they're going to the Olympuses or the Panasonics, depending on what you're shooting. It's just the way of the future. It's as simple as that. Everything is getting smaller, and people want the technology, the autofocus options, and everything else. And this is just something that Canon and Nikon, not all, and they're just not providing at the moment. They are up in their game a little bit, but they still feel like they're 5 years too late at this point. There was mirrorless cameras on the market years ago with touchscreens, and now Canon and Nikon have only just started to make them. It's not really good enough. We want that technology now. So what's your thoughts and feelings on this subject? Will you be moving to Sony like I am? Or will you be sticking with Canon or Nikon or whoever it is you're using? Maybe you want to move over to Fuji, I don't know. Just let me know, we'll start a discussion below, and just kind of go from there really. If you like what you're watching, give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, you know, it's YouTube, you know what to do. Right, see you next time.